Have you been in a conversation wherein people were talking about data modeling or maybe mentioning that term, and you were not sure if you could participate in it because you did not understand the concept? You have come to the right place. I am Nitish, and this is my channel Concept Bites, wherein I bring to you some common data science concepts explained with very simple examples. In this particular video, I will cover the concept of data modeling, which is a very common concept in machine learning, and will demystify this term for you. We will also provide some common steps which are generally covered in the data modeling process. So let's get down to our video.
Before we even start to understand what is modeling, we should have a data set, right? Because without data, there is no data modeling, right? That is very obvious. So for the purpose of this particular video, I have created this toy data set and a hypothetical situation which will help us in understand this concept in a simple manner. So you can assume that you are working in the healthcare department of a government and you have access to this following data. So the first column of the data has an identification number which will help you identify the people in the data set. The next column has age followed by height and weight. And the final column has the daily calorie consumption of those people. So for the first person in the data set with ID 1, their age is 25 years, height is 1.7 meters, weight is 71 kilograms, and their daily calorie intake is 2600 calories. Okay. So with this in background, we proceed. But before even modeling the data, there is one very important step that you should keep in mind, which is data preparation. So data preparation is a really important step and which we will not cover in this particular video. But if you want to get an idea about what is data preparation, please look at the link in the description and it will help you in understanding that. Okay. So data preparation is a really important step before modeling because imagine that if you're trying to cook something, maybe cook vegetables, you buy some vegetables from a grocery store, take it to your home, and if you directly cook it without even washing it, cleaning it, chopping it, and maybe peeling it if required, then the taste of that dish will turn out to be very different from what you intended. Similarly, if you don't apply proper data preparation techniques, then the end data model will also not turn out to be as good as you want it to be. Okay, so please remember this step. Now, coming to data modeling, assume that you're sitting in a meeting with your team and one of the senior managers in your team asks you to basically create a system, any kind of system, which will take the age, height, and weight of a person as input and will predict their daily calorie consumption as an output. So you might ask that this is already given to us here. So why do they need it? So imagine a scenario wherein they have the age, height, and weight for a person outside this data and they want to predict their calorie consumption for maybe some kind of government policy, etc. Right? Let's assume that. So you are tasked with building that system in a way. So let us see how you can go about it. So we are already given that the age, height, and weight will be the input to the system, and it should try to predict the calorie intake for a person about whom we don't know the calorie intake, but we know the other three variables. So let us assume that you have a snippet of code, maybe a magic formula, which takes these as input and gives you the required answer as output, right? So let us have a look at one of these required answers, like one of the maybe one of these possible answers that can come out. So let's say the system tells you that if you multiply age by 2, height by 5, and weight by 3, and add all of them, then it will give you some kind of a prediction of the daily calorie intake. So this the expression, the mathematical expression on the rightmost box is what we call a data model, because in essence it is helping us give a mathematical form in which we can provide the input and get some kind of a predicted output. Okay, so a data model is nothing but a very simple or maybe even a complex mathematical representation of the data which helps us predict something. Okay, so in this case this is called the data model. And as you can imagine that 2, 5 and 3 can be replaced by other numbers also, and we can play around with different kinds of combinations of these to get different models. Okay, so this in essence is called a data model. Now if we try to understand the process of data modeling at a very high level, in this video I will just outline the steps, and in case some terms seem alien to you, do not worry. I will deep dive into each of these steps in my future videos so that you have a better idea. Okay. So the first step is data preparation, as we have already discussed. This is the most important prerequisite for data modeling. Then you have to choose a performance metric, which is essentially to measure how good your model is. So if you build a model which is not giving good predictions, it is not very useful for anyone, right? So you would want to build some model which is reliable and which can help you give good predictions. So if you choose a performance metric which is right, that will help you reach that goal. Then you have to split the data into two parts. The first part will be used in building the model, and the second part will be used for testing the model. So since you are building the model or you're building some model, you need to test it on something, right? To understand how good it is doing, right? So that is why this step you need to split the data into building or training the model, as we call it, and testing the model. Then you apply all the machine learning techniques on the data that you are using to build the model. You use all kinds of machine learning algorithms that are at your disposal and try them out. Once you fixate on one model or a particular set of models, you can tune these models to make them more robust. You can fine tune them to make sure that they are more reliable under uncertain conditions and make them more robust. And finally, once you choose the final model, you come to all the results and conclusions and give an estimation of how well your model is supposed to perform when it is used on real data or in production, as we call it. And the final step is, of course, the deployment of the model. So this you can do it yourself if you have the required coding experience, or you can take help of any software engineer in your team to do this. Okay. So once you deploy the model and make sure it is deployed correctly, you can monitor to see that is it actually working as intended on real-time data or not, or on actual people or not. Okay. So these are the steps at a high level, and don't worry if you don't understand them right now. We will dig deeper into each of these steps in the coming videos, in the coming weeks. Okay.
I hope now you have a much better understanding of the term data modeling, and at a high level you understand the process behind it as well. If you liked my video and found it useful, please press the like button below and subscribe to my channel to get more such videos in the future. I look forward to your comments and feedback. Thank you very much.